early on, I approached Leigh, and I always read it that the character Charlotte was like going through the 7 stages of grief, because her husband is diseased and is like slowly disappearing right in front of her.
We were attacked. I think my husband was infected. Blake.
One of the things that I wasn't prepared to watch in the movie is how we deal with trauma with our parents from the beginning, and then the relationship that you had with your wife, and then the girl in the middle. When we see the name of the movie, Wolfman, we don't expect to have this introspective relationship. How's that work for you and the creation of your character?
Yeah, I mean, I think that theme is very important. The idea of like sort of generational trauma, right? I mean, I as an actor, I love. Those are things I can sort of play with. It's great. It's a horror movie. It's scary. It has all the visual bells and whistles, all that kind of stuff. But for me, the stuff to really play is things like this. And what that means. And I think I think that's a big theme. The idea, the character of Blake is a father who's at times almost maybe trying too hard to be, or he's too protective. You know what I mean? And trying to keep his daughter too safe. He's almost overbearing in some ways, And then when this thing happens, and how that relates to his father, and how he, without giving too much away, it's all sort of part of the thematic journey. And and that's a theme, and the idea of communication is a big theme. When communication is taken from you, and then how do you then communicate with your loved ones when you can't anymore, like an illness? There's a lot there, but yeah, that's great.
But also it's about protection. I have a daughter. She's 6. She's turning 6 today, actually.
Wow, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, man. And you say something, because I remember when the accident happened, you think about your daughter. Like every first thought that your character has is about your daughter. Even when she got upset at you, that you apologized. That relationship is important in the movie. And also, I grew up watching, Thriller, all this transformation of Wolfman, but in this movie occurs in a slow version, in a slow moment. How was that for you? Because I assume you had to stop, makeup, and then stop, create a scene. Is that like interrupt your character per se, or this is something that you were prepared to do?
I was prepared, because like you sort of know going into it what the day-to-day is going to be like, and again, luckily I didn't have to be like in the makeup and everything every day, so obviously you see me as a normal man, whatever, through some of it, but again, you're touching on that theme of the father-the-daughter thing, and how I'm glad for you that kind of comes through, because I think it's very, very important to what the big story is there. Yeah.
Yeah, because for me, it like we as a father, that's the figure that we are, the protective one. Even when you are transformed, you
still
you still feel that protection, even for your wife. Is that any like personal situation that you bring as a creation of that character, that the protection, it has to be on the first step?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I don't have kids, but I of course I hope to, and look forward to it. So I guess I can only really imagine, but like, there are young kids in my life, niece, nephew, people that I'm protective of in that way. So I can always sort of relate to that, and how, once you have someone that you've created that you need to protect, you quickly forget about yourself, and you put someone else first in that way. And I think the journey of the character, even as he's sort of transforming, seeing that little bit of hope in him, that still wanting to protect, but now he has to protect from himself. You know what I mean? And that's a very interesting thing to play, as again, without giving anything away, to almost scare her away from
Yeah.
him, from himself. Yeah.
One of the beautiful thing about this film is that we see a family. Usually in film, when we have this entity, we don't get to know the interaction of a regular family with issues, in the couple. How was that connection, that chemistry created at first with Chris? It was based on the script. It's based on rehearsal. They explain your character. How that dynamic started?
Well, we had rehearsal, so there was a lot of time to talk about the family's dynamic, the marital problems, the history, like all the things. So we made sure to like carve out time to really talk about it and prep for it before actually living in that space. And I also, my first movie I ever did was with Chris. I was 16 years old. I did Martha Marcy May Marlene. So it was really nice working with him again, like years, like a decade later. So not that there was history there, but I guess there was like film history, you would say.
I talked to Chris about protection. This is a film that I see a lot of protection from you, from him. Is a paternity, maternity, and one of my favorite sequences is in the house when he's transforming for the first time, and you're in the house and you're witnessing everything. One of the things that I grew up watching is all this transformation in films, and Thriller is probably the most famous that we have. All Michael Jackson transforming in, and I wonder, is any different mindset for you as a partner, like seeing this person transforming, but cut. Okay, this is another Chris. This is another Chris. This is another Chris, and
Yeah.
then at the end having a full
Wolf.
wolf. Yes.
Yeah, it was really interesting because Chris did like 6 hours of prosthetic every day. So, and it was great that we didn't have CGI. Like we had the makeup. He had to go to prosthetics like every day for 6 hours, and sometimes they would have to like switch out the different actors for me to like like act with, and that was hard. But I will take practical like any day. And I mean with I think he physically had the transformation with the makeup. And for me, I think my North Star was early on, I approached Leigh, and I always read it that the character, Charlotte, was like going through the 7 stages of grief.
Yeah.
Because her husband is diseased and is like slowly disappearing right in front of her. So it's the 7 stages of grief in one day or one night.
But also it's about communication, because his character at one point he can talk, he can communicate with you.
Right.
But the communication comes to the eyes and action and the protection. And that's another kind of I don't know, acting, because it's also physical. This is a very physical role for you. You have to run, you have to stop, you have to defend, you have to fall. It's any training that required that you have to do with this physical, at least the part that you have to do.
Well, I knew that I had to like run, but like sometimes when you read something, you like kind of forget. And I actually learned, that was my learning experience with this. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to run here. I'm gonna have to run here, which I did. I didn't really. I don't know. I just, yeah, I knew it, but I didn't really like think about it.
I don't like my running. I don't like it.
I don't like running either that much. But you know what? Hey, I love acting, so I'll do anything to act.
One of the beautiful things about, I have noticed it because I'm a huge fan of the character since 1941, and it's that relationship with the character's parents. There's an atmosphere. There's always a relationship. There's a past that the dad past genetic is always a relationship, and this movie is not an exception. But this is different because there's a trauma from childhood, and there's a protective relationship that he has with his daughter now. And I want to talk about this parental decision of creating this character and this protectiveness behind the person that he loves.
Yeah, I mean, Corbett and I were co-writing the film, and we have kids of our own, so we feel that protectiveness every day. And we were right in the middle of COVID, so it was like this really raw time. We're in the house every day. You're trying to keep the kids safe, keep them from getting sick. So we just put it all in the script. We felt like all of it should be in there.
This was at a time when we thought everyone was going to die. So we did feel very protective of our kids. And you can't avoid those things shaping your perspective as you're writing, I think.
Also creating the atmosphere. Both has experience in creating atmosphere. You directed Invisible Man. You've been in so many horror movies as a writer, as an actor, as a director. And how do you create an atmosphere when the movie starts based like a family drama with a suspense that I love how you guys use the surrounding with the call and breathing, and the menace. The whole movie at the beginning is like menace, is something around. And then when we feel the transformation and we see what's going on, it's another atmosphere, it's another movie because everything happened in one location. And how do you switch from writing something so intimate, so something dark and menace?
I don't know. I mean, we made a decision pretty early on that we wanted the film to all be set in one night, but we also wanted to tell the story of who these people were. So we kind of built this opening sequence and, Corbett she'd like to live on a farm. She likes the rural setting. And so it just felt right for that time, especially during COVID with all that isolation. It felt right to write a horror movie where they were so isolated. And so, and it's very, very different to Invisible Man, which is more of a city-bound story. So it was pretty much from day one, right?
Yeah, it's basically my opportunity to live through my country living porn.
Yeah, I'm not letting you.
Story.
I'm not letting you live on a farm, so you just had to get it out in the script. Yeah.
Something that I love, I don't know if it was in the script, it's the movement of the camera. It's like chasing them, but also it's steady. It's a lot of steady use of them, and the work with the actors, because they have to be chased, they have to be stopped, they have to connect not just with the character, also with me as an audience. And also that was in the script, and also the transformation that Chris goes through. For me, is super slow and super important. That we see how this person is transforming and losing the communication, but he knows how to communicate.
Yeah, I mean, that was really big for us from the start, wasn't it? That communication part of it.
Yeah, it's sort of about the falling apart of the marriage. And so how do marriages fall apart? You stop communicating and you're speaking a different language and you're seeing things differently. And then from there, we just built sort of the physical transformation on top of that, with it sort of being woven throughout.
Yeah, and also the aspect of disease. Corbett and I have a close personal friend who was suffering from, a degenerative disease, and that she eventually succumbed to, and it was really hard to watch. It was a slow motion nightmare. So we wanted to, pay tribute to her, and kind of all the anxiety and sadness we felt about that. We wanted to put that into the script.
Corbett, Leigh, thank you so much for your time and great movie.
Thank you so much.
I really had fun.
Good to talk to you. Thank you very much.